What is up, Panther Nation? So it's been a productive week. We brought in some long-awaited secondary help. After Bashad Breeland went and cut his ankle in the DR, voiding his contract, and Kurt Coleman went off to join the dark side. Thanks, Bounty Hunters. It was apparent we needed help. And help we got, signing corner Ross Cockrell and safety Denoris Searcy. They'll be nice role players that give us some leeway in how we attack the draft. But heading into the offseason, our most apparent offensive need was playmaking receiver. And apparently Marty Hurney heard our cries. Sort of. We talked about the acquisition of Torrey Smith in our last video. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and click the link in the description. It's cool. Oh wait. Needless to say, the trade didn't check the receiver box off of our list of needs. So Hurney took another shot at it, signing longtime Viking slot man Jarius Wright. And I've got to say, not a bad shot to take. First off, the 2012 4th round pick had two of his best years under a familiar face. Newly hired offensive coordinator Norv Turner. Wright actually cited Turner as the reason he came to Carolina. And Turner is all too familiar with what he brings to the table. A slot guy, he gives us our best inside option since Jericho Cotchery. Though I guess that isn't saying much, is it? Jarius is ridiculously quick. He has a knack for getting separation in one-on-one situations. And that may be his best attribute. I mean, last year, and literally every year since Smitty left, we've had a fundamental issue in offense. Our receivers couldn't get separation.
What happened? Did your balls drop off?
And while Ted Ginn was a band-aid, his elite speed made it so his terrible route running was obsolete. We had yet to find a receiver who got open with route running and a feel for the defense. Until now, that is. Don't get me wrong, Jarius Wright isn't the answer either. He's quicker than fast and is really limited to the slot. But he is a masterful third down option with the smarts and route running ability to get open. Something we haven't seen much of in the Rivera era. I'd argue he can even have more of an impact than Torrey Smith at 2/3 the price. But if Smith isn't the answer, and Wright isn't the answer, then who is? It's likely we'll have to look towards the draft for our golden goose. Luckily for us, the draft has quite a few geese, many of which are golden. Receivers of all shapes and sizes that could bolster our receiving core in the long run. The Brothers Blue presents 3 game changers the Panthers could draft to improve our receiving core. Now, mind you, this isn't necessarily the 3 best receivers in the draft, just the 3 that fit the Panthers the best. And those will actually have a chance to draft at some point. And let's get things kicked off with number 3. Equinemius St. Brown of Notre Dame. Honestly, the guy gets points just for his name. I mean, Equinemius? Sounds like he clashes with Zeus in his free time. And actually, that wouldn't be a surprise. The receiver stands at 6'5" and 215 pounds. Throw in 20 bench reps and a 4.48 40-yard dash, and it's not hard to see why he has GMs doing double takes. Now, obviously, he's not a complete prospect. Otherwise, we'd be looking at a top 10 pick with his traits. No, he doesn't have the strongest hands, and he doesn't do a great job securing the ball through contact. Not great when the Vontaze Burficts of the world are salivating at the chance to give the bad man the boo-boo. Also, because of his limited system and lack of QB, he hasn't really had the volume necessary to showcase his skill set on film. He finished with 500 yards and 4 touchdowns last year. There's also some questions surrounding his effort and passion for the game. But for all of his faults, St. Brown can be a dangerous weapon. Aside from his size, strength, and speed, he's also a fluid route runner. The Jolly Giant is nimble on his feet, and possesses an athleticism not usually seen from someone his size. If we can nab Equinemius in the 2nd or 3rd round, he has the upside to be an absolute steal. He's a red zone, vertical, and name of the year threat rolled into one. If we take a gamble on a boom or bust receiver this year, it's got to be Equinemius. It's just fun to say his name. It isn't that reason enough. Anyways, moving on to our next game changer. Number 2. James Washington, Oklahoma State. Now I have to admit, I may be a bit biased when it comes to Washington. I've been following him for quite a bit now. Really since the beginning of the season. Eventually did get a restraining order, so now I watch from afar. No, but really, I did discover him early and was blown away by his performance in the Senior Bowl. I knew almost immediately he'd be a perfect fit for the Panthers. First off, he's without a doubt the best deep threat in this year's draft. And that's really saying something considering he ran a 4.5 40. But like Josh Doctson before him, there's so much more to being a deep threat than pure speed. Otherwise, Stephen Hill would be an all-pro by now. Washington is masterful at tracking the ball in stride. Not only that, his sturdy frame gives him an advantage off the initial press, and his savvy quickness gives him a feel for separation. Essentially, think of him as a laboratory mutation between Corey Coleman, Brandon Cooks, and Josh Doctson. He just has the strength, route running, and tracking ability to be a #1 receiver. That, and he has deadly build-up speed. I'd honestly put his play speed at about a 4.3, and I'd love to see the Panthers pull the trigger on him, likely during the first 2 rounds. He'd be a lethal weapon. And finally, we have my favorite game changer for Sweet Caroline. Numero 1, DJ Moore, Maryland. DJ Moore had himself a combine. Prior to the workout, I honestly would have put James Washington at that #1 spot. But Moore's combine was the shot heard around the world. Where Washington has polish, Moore has upside. Before the workout, the Maryland product drew close comparisons to another former Turpin, and top of Saints Most Wanted Persons list.
61 brilliant yards for Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs. But while they do share a 6-foot height, Moore's shown that he's faster, quicker, and bulkier than his collegiate counterpart. That and Moore is just a fiend with the ball in his hands. I can't emphasize this enough. He's slippery, he's elusive, and he's outright dangerous after the catch. And while he may not have the length many teams look for an outside receiver, he's shown more than a reliable weapon with underwhelming QBs. In fact, if Moore was just a few inches taller, I don't think we'd have a shot at him. He's got all the yak, or yards after the catch, upside in the world. And he can make a deep and immediate impact on our receiving core. We'd bring the yang, he'd bring the yak. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Moore to Carolina would be a match made in heaven. Let's make sure Marty gets the memo. Well, that is all we have for you today, Panther Nation. If you like our videos, you know what to do. Click that like button, click that subscribe button, click that share button. Really, you can't go wrong if you just click all over the page. And hit us up in the comments with the receiver's name you'd like to hear in the draft. It's Equinemius, isn't it? It always is. Tell us what you think, because I know there's great receivers that we didn't mention today. Christian Kirk, DJ Chark, Calvin Ridley if you want to be mainstream. And don't forget to tell us what you want to see more of. Draft, player evaluation, news, etc., etc. Whatever you want, we've got it. I will see your beautiful faces soon. Stay blue, my friends.
I'm a boss like Bowser. Did it for my bro like Alger. Did it in a row like Alger.